History is full of moments that changed the course of human civilization. Some were born of ambition, others of misunderstanding or hubris. Today, we look at the top 5 biggest historical mistakes, decisions that had repercussions felt for generations. Imagine a world where these pivotal events unfolded differently. What if cooler heads had prevailed, if wisdom had tempered ambition? Would our world be a different place? These are not just hypothetical questions, they are vital reflections on the fragility of peace and the enduring consequences of our actions. Join me as we journey back in time, examining these critical junctures in history, understanding the circumstances that led to these pivotal errors, and exploring the profound and lasting impact they have had on the world we live in today. The year is 1919. The guns of the Great War have fallen silent, their deafening roar replaced by an uneasy quiet. The world, wearied by years of unprecedented bloodshed, yearns for lasting peace. Yet in the hallowed halls of Versailles, a treaty is being forged, not on the anvil of reconciliation, but on the bitter embers of resentment. The Treaty of Versailles, intended to ensure a lasting peace, instead sowed the seeds of future conflict. Germany, blamed for the war's devastation, was burdened with crippling reparations and forced to accept sole responsibility. This humiliation festered within the German psyche, creating fertile ground for extremist ideologies. The treaty, in its attempt to cripple Germany, inadvertently crippled the possibility of a lasting peace. The fragile economies of Europe struggled under the weight of these punitive measures. The once vibrant tapestry of international cooperation lay in tatters, replaced by suspicion and mistrust. In the years that followed, the world watched as the treaty's flaws became tragically apparent. The rise of nationalism, fueled by economic hardship and political instability, swept across Europe. The treaty, meant to prevent another global conflict, had inadvertently paved the way for an even greater one. Imagine a different ending to the Great War. What if, instead of retribution, the victors had chosen reconciliation? What if, instead of punishment, they had offered a hand of friendship and cooperation? The Treaty of Versailles serves as a stark reminder that peace, like a delicate flower, needs nurturing, not the harsh grip of retribution. It reminds us that true peace can only be achieved through understanding, empathy, and a shared commitment to a better future. The year is 1941. Europe is once again engulfed in the flames of war. Adolf Hitler, driven by his ambition for Lebensraum, living space for the German people, sets his sights on the vast expanse of the Soviet Union. Operation Barbarossa, the largest military invasion in history, is unleashed. The Wehrmacht, the German war machine, confident after its swift victories in Western Europe, rolls across the Soviet border, expecting a swift and decisive campaign. But they had underestimated their adversary. They had underestimated the vastness of the Russian steppes, the resilience of the Soviet people, and the bitter fury of the Russian winter. The initial German advance was swift, but it came at a terrible cost. The Red Army, though ill-prepared for the onslaught, fought with a ferocity born of desperation and patriotism. As the German army advanced deeper into Russia, they encountered a land that seemed to swallow them whole. The vast distances, the unforgiving terrain, and the harsh climate conspired to break the back of the German offensive. And then came the winter. The bitter Russian winter, a force as formidable as any army, descended upon the invaders. Temperatures plummeted, supplies dwindled, and the German advance ground to a halt. The myth of German invincibility lay shattered on the frozen plains of Russia. The invasion of Russia proved to be a costly miscalculation, a turning point in the war. It marked the beginning of the end for Hitler's dreams of domination. The Eastern Front became a meat grinder, consuming millions of lives on both sides. The ghosts of Operation Barbarossa still haunt the Russian landscape. The battlefields, now silent and overgrown, whisper tales of sacrifice, resilience, and the folly of underestimating one's enemy. Chapter 3. The Atomic Shadow, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The world watched in awe and apprehension as the destructive power of the atom was unleashed. The blinding flash, the mushroom cloud reaching towards the heavens, marked a terrifying new chapter in human history. In a heartbeat, the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki were transformed into landscapes of unimaginable devastation. The human cost was staggering. Hundreds of thousands of lives were extinguished in an instant, their shadows forever etched into the streets. Survivors faced a slow, agonizing death from radiation sickness. The true horror lay in the insidious, long-lasting effects. The world looked on in horror at the devastation. The bombings triggered a moral reckoning, a debate that continues to this day. The legacy of Hiroshima and Nagasaki extends far beyond the physical scars. It serves as a stark reminder of the terrible power we possess. The world entered the atomic age, defined by both scientific progress and the threat of nuclear annihilation. The power unleashed continues to cast a long shadow, reminding us of the fragility of peace. Chapter 4. The Spoils of Conquest, the Scramble for Africa. The late 19th century witnessed a different kind of conquest, a conquest driven by greed and a sense of imperial entitlement. European powers, fueled by industrial ambition and a misplaced sense of racial superiority, embarked on a ruthless scramble for African territories. Like hunters staking their claim on a kill, European powers carved up the African continent, drawing borders with little regard for the continent's ancient cultures, tribal boundaries, or the aspirations of its people. The tapestry of Africa's rich and diverse cultures was torn asunder as European powers imposed their will on the continent. This period witnessed the systematic exploitation of Africa's resources and the subjugation of its people. From the diamond mines of South Africa to the rubber plantations of the Congo, African labor fueled European industries, while its people endured unimaginable cruelty and exploitation. The legacy of colonialism continues to cast a long shadow over the African continent. The arbitrary borders drawn during the scramble for Africa left a legacy of ethnic conflict and political instability. The wounds of the past continue to fester, a constant reminder of the injustice endured by generations of Africans. The story of the scramble for Africa is not just a tale of colonial ambition. It is a story of human resilience in the face of oppression. It is a story that reminds us that the quest for freedom and self-determination is universal, transcending borders and generations. Chapter 5. A Faustian Bargain, the Policy of Appeasement. The 1930s were a time of growing unease in Europe. The shadow of war loomed large, but instead of confronting the growing threat of Nazi Germany, Britain and France chose a path of appeasement, hoping to avoid another devastating conflict. The policy of appeasement was a dangerous gamble, a gamble made with the lives of millions. It was a policy driven by a desire for peace, but a desire so strong that it blinded leaders to the harsh realities of the threat they faced. Emboldened by the lack of opposition, Hitler's Germany grew increasingly aggressive, annexing Austria and dismembering Czechoslovakia. Each act of aggression was met with a whimper of protest and further concessions, feeding the insatiable appetite of the Nazi war machine. The policy of appeasement, far from preventing war, only served to delay the inevitable. It allowed Hitler to consolidate his power, expand his military, and prepare for the global conflict he so desperately craved. The lessons of appeasement are as relevant today as they were in the 1930s. It serves as a stark reminder that aggression, left unchecked, only emboldens the aggressor. It reminds us that true peace can only be achieved through strength, resolve, and a willingness to stand up for what is right, even in the face of daunting odds. History is a teacher, but it can only teach those willing to learn. The mistakes of the past serve as a warning, a reminder that the choices we make have consequences far beyond our immediate grasp. By studying these errors, we can strive to build a more aware and thoughtful future. From the ashes of war and the ruins of empires, we can glean valuable lessons about the human condition, our capacity for both profound error and remarkable resilience. It is our duty to remember these events, to learn from them, and to strive to create a world where such mistakes are never repeated. The path of history is littered with the debris of poor decisions, yet it is also illuminated by the courage of those who learned from these mistakes, who dared to envision a better future and strive to make it a reality. Let us be inspired by their example, to learn from the echoes of the past, and to build a future worthy of their sacrifice. What do you think was the greatest historical mistake? Share your thoughts and subscribe for more stories from history that shaped our world.